paratrooper, Staff Sergeant Nikoson, or Sergeant First Class Nikoson, charged in Syria shootout, acquitted of all charges. So that's great news. Sergeant First Class Robert Nikoson, the paratrooper who was accused of leading a patrol into an unnecessary gunfight in Syria. Wait till you guys hear the crap from the military in this one. Before ordering troops to delete videos of the incident, we'll talk about that too, was acquitted of all charges Friday evening after a court-martial at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So we covered this when it first happened, and we said we'll follow along with this. Well, the trial happened, the court-martial happened, and he was found not guilty. The soldier's civilian defense attorney, Philip Stackhouse, which is definitely an attorney name, argued that the patrol had briefed leaders that it would go to the checkpoint and the alleged threats Nikoson made were intended to deter an attack. Because if you guys remember, the original complaint was that he sparked this whole thing by trash talking. He trash talked the people at this checkpoint and started the conflict. Accusations that Nikoson tried to cover up the incident ultimately lost traction as well. It's tough to take anything that the government says seriously when they're trying to throw their troops under the bus after watching that Green Beret documentary, which I don't remember, it's like 1632 Actual or something like that, the one about the Green Berets in Niger, who the army tried to completely throw under the bus and blame for everything that happened out there, but really they were acting on orders and performed their duties heroically to the end. And it's just a despicable side of the army that they would try to throw their people under the bus. And that appears to be exactly what happened here. He was fully acquitted of all the allegations. Spokesman for the 82nd Airborne Division, Lieutenant Colonel Brett Leah, confirmed the acquittal on Saturday morning. The jury was comprised of 2 lieutenant colonels and 6 command sergeant majors. They found Nikoson not guilty of all 7 allegations. There was an 8th, but it was canceled before the trial ended. The trial lasted for a week. 20 witnesses were called to the stand to provide testimony to a combat experience panel. Trial in the military, you have to have peers on there. You have to have, I think it's, you have to have people who outrank you. You have to have people from your own branch of service. You have to be represented by a jury of your military peers in a court-martial. A court-martial by jury. It took only 2 hours of deliberation. As they say, the less time the jury spends deliberating, the better chances you are of being not guilty. So it only took them 2 hours and they came back not guilty. Sergeant First Class Nikoson, his family continue to be humbled and thankful to those that have supported him and stood by his side. The charges against him came August 17th, 2020, so about a year and a half ago, at a checkpoint. And in case you guys don't remember what happened, we're going to talk about it. In northeastern Syria, manned by troops loyal to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, Nikoson's patrol drove up to the checkpoint and a gunfight unfolded. Now, this stuff in Syria is, working against, it's combating terrorist regimes in Syria, and they go up to this checkpoint that's supposed to be people aligned with the president. They're not supposed to have contact there. They're not supposed to be getting into gunfights with those guys. Nikoson was charged with dismounting his vehicle and threatening to kill the pro-regime fighters if they did not allow his unit, the Black Horse Troop, 1st Squadron, 73rd Cavalry Regiment, through. U.S. officials said at the time of the incident that the American had initially been cleared to move through the checkpoint. So they're saying he provoked, he instigated this. After receiving safe passage from pro-regime forces, the Americans came under small arms fire from individuals in the vicinity of the checkpoint and returned fire in self-defense. A roughly 10-minute gunfight erupted, leading to the killing of 1 Syrian fighter and wounding of 2 others. There is a video, and I have that right here if you're listening on the podcast. This is what looks like cell phone quality video taken from the rear of the convoy where the Americans are using what appears to be crew-served weapons to engage the Syrian forces. Let's watch this video and see what's going on. So they have the vehicles, the American vehicles up there, which look like, if I go back and see that, they look like MRAPs maybe, or RGs vehicles, and they're using their crew-served weapons to engage the checkpoint, which appears to be maybe 200, 300 meters away. I can't exactly tell which of these compounds they're shooting at, but maybe somewhere between 200 and 300 meters away, which is very effective range for those weapon systems on those vehicles.
पढ़ते के फिर पढ़ते के
And then you can hear small arms fire, so that sounds like M4s firing back there too. All right, in that video, which was posted to Twitter, here's a better picture of the vehicle. So it looks like Humvees, and that looks like a MATV. So it looks like Humvees and MATVs. So during the gunfight, the charge sheet says Nikoson ordered two soldiers to, after the gunfight, it says Nikoson ordered two soldiers to delete video recordings of the unit's actions at the checkpoint in an attempt to cover up any potential wrongdoing. Early on, those allegations started to seem suspicious right away. They were reported to Army Times in April. He was arraigned in August. In July, a preliminary hearing report obtained by Army Times detailed how the hearing officer recommended the two charges against Nikoson be dismissed for failure to obey an order and reckless endangerment. Although there is probable cause to support both of the specifications, the facts as presented leave room for doubt. The evidence is contradictory and seems colored by multiple conversations, rumors, and/or training conducted in the aftermath of the incidents. The Army CID investigation didn't start until a couple months after August, and a preliminary hearing officer wrote in his report, the witnesses seem to have inherent bias and prejudice as a result of what they were told after the fact. So that's not good for a prosecutor either. The August 2020 clash occurred in part of Syria where a tenuous U.S. military presence has guarded the lucrative oil fields and chased lingering Islamic State fighters since the collapse of the extremist group's territorial possessions. But altercations like the one that followed Nikoson home, as well as more tame ones involving Russian forces, have highlighted the unpredictable nature of the mission there. Nikoson's charge sheet stated that the soldiers were supposed to stay 2 kilometers away from checkpoints like the one they ultimately encountered, but at trial, the soldier's squadron commander explained that the guidance was not a black and white order, which sounds right to me. Based on my experiences, you can't just explicitly stay 2 kilometers away. It depends what your partner force is doing. It depends what the mission dictates. Depends where you have to go. Maybe that there's a road that's flooded or broken or something like that. You know, there's tons of reasons why you would have to divert and go closer than whatever you're told your standoff is. I mean, it happens all the time. So what's crazy about this, let's see if it's in here. There's the article over here from UAP, United American Patriots, a program that advocates for veterans who have been accused of crimes in war, who they believe they're not guilty of. Eddie Gallagher was involved in this, Nikoson, the MARSOC 3, which is still an ongoing thing. If you guys remember that story from like a couple of years ago, Aaron Vanderbeck episode, you guys can go back and listen to all that. It's still ongoing. But here's what's crazy. After this gunfight occurred, Sergeant First Class Nikoson was written up for a Bronze Star with Valor for his actions. He was written up for a Bronze Star with Valor. He was a hero at first. But then as soon as it became politically unpleasant for the Army, they tried to throw him under the bus. It says here, the checkpoint ambush was captured on video with aerial footage showing, which we don't have access to, that the enemy forces opened fire for attempting to temporarily detain the American convoy at their checkpoint. As 9 to 12 hostile personnel began their attack on the Americans, the gunner on Sergeant First Class Nikoson's vehicle began to return fire. Realizing that the gunner would need to perform a reload on his crew-served weapon, Sergeant First Class Nikoson and one other enlisted soldier dismounted and exposed themselves multiple times to heavy and sustained enemy fire in order to draw attention away from the vehicle. Very heroic. Once the majority of hostile forces were neutralized and sustained hostile fire became more sporadic, Sergeant First Class Nikoson made sure that all of his troops were in their vehicles when they broke contact. The 10-minute firefight caused damage to the convoy vehicle, so there was proof that they were getting shot effectively, and resulted in at least one enemy combatant being killed. While there were Apache helicopters overhead, they were not authorized to engage. No Americans were killed in the engagement thanks to their decisive and coordinated response. Then he ends up going to trial, going to court-martial, and getting found not guilty. It sounds like the Army was just trying to throw one of their troops under the bus again, which is just another example of that. Unbelievable. What is the Army doing? The Army's really got to work on their human resources department and not their PR. All right? It's time to go invest some money in human resources and not PR, period. So, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching that clip from our live show. We're live right here on YouTube, Sunday through Thursday, 1800 Pacific Standard Time. If you want, come on by, join the chat. I'd love to hear from you. If you like that video and you want to see more, consider checking out this video right here or subscribing to the channel with this button right here. I look forward to talking to you really soon. I'm out for now.